Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Commander Phil Bywaters. By June 1971, Australia had been involved in the Vietnam War for 9 years. With no end in sight to an unpopular war, the Australians, like the Americans, were reducing their forces as they prepared to pull out of Vietnam. The withdrawal would take time and would not be easy. Viet Cong and North Vietnamese Army forces began moving troops back into Phuoc Tuy province, luring the Australians into a large-scale ambush to inflict a heavy defeat and a propaganda victory. Aware of the enemy movement, the Australians launched Operation Overlord, named after the 1944 invasion of Normandy. The operation was aimed at destroying enemy forces and preventing them from interfering with the province's security and the Australian withdrawal. On the 5th of June 1971, the Australians deployed by helicopter and armoured personnel carriers north to the province border of Phuoc Tuy, near the Courtenay Rubber Plantation. 3rd Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, would take the lead in assaulting enemy positions. While 4 RAR New Zealand with American troops held blocking positions to trap enemy forces looking to escape. Australian tanks would also be in support. The most significant fighting took place on the 7th of June. It became known as the Battle of Long Can. Today, we remember those who fought in that battle. We pay our respects to the men and women commemorated on the Roll of Honour and to the survivors who returned home. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal David John Dubber, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge the veterans and their families who are in Canberra to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Operation Overlord and the Battle of Long Can. And we also welcome the mates of Corporal David John Dubber, 9 squadron veterans and current serving members, 3 RAR veterans and current serving members, and representatives from the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Our home
Please sit if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal David John Dubber. David was born on the 17th of April, 1943 in Coburg, Victoria, the only child of Alfred and Florence Dubber. He attended St Ambrose's in Brunswick, but left school at the age of 14, finding a variety of jobs, including at an auto spares warehouse, a sheet metal works, and as an assistant at a funeral parlour. David's main interests and hobbies included swimming, life-saving, gymnastics, and reading. In his early 20s, he met June, a full-time nursing aide, and the two were married. A daughter soon followed, and the pair settled in Melbourne. In 1967, David applied to join the Royal Australian Air Force, and after being accepted, signed on in April. Mustering as an Airfield Defence Guard, or ADG, David was first posted to No. 1 Recruit Training Unit at Edinburgh Air Base near Adelaide. His next postings were to Amberley, then Williamtown, where he completed his training. Airfield Defence Guards were primarily responsible for patrolling and protecting the perimeter of air bases, but the weapons training also meant they could serve as door gunners on helicopters. In February 1968, Dubber was posted to No. 2 Squadron, based at Phan Rang Air Base in South Vietnam. Here, he served on the ground as an ADG, protecting the base from enemy attack. After returning home in January 1968, David was mentioned in dispatches for leadership, courage, and devotion during his tour of duty in Vietnam. Now at the base squadron at RAF Fairburn in the Australian Capital Territory, in 1970, Dubber applied for training as a specialist helicopter door gunner. After qualifying, he was promoted to corporal and began his second tour of Vietnam with No. 9 Squadron, operating Huey helicopters. Arriving in early May 1971, Dubber was in action almost every day. The tempo of operations was intense. During downtime, he got on well with his comrades and enjoyed himself. Blessed with a remarkable singing voice, Dubber's rendition of Danny Boy was said to be unmatched. On the morning of the 7th of June, Australian infantrymen of 5 Platoon B Company, 3 RAR, became involved in a protracted engagement with a North Vietnamese army unit occupying a bunker system. This was the Battle of Long Can. The Australians soon ran short of ammunition, and a resupply flight was dispatched. The fight continued, and the Australians again ran short of ammunition. A second resupply flight was dispatched. Flight Lieutenant Everett Lance and his crew in Albatross 06 took off from Nui Dat with a load of ammunition and 3 RAR's padmaster, Sergeant Jimmy Griffith. Reaching the site of battle, Lance brought his aircraft to a hover near 5 Platoon's marker balloon, but before Griffith could rope the ammunition down to the waiting infantrymen, the helicopter was hit and fatally damaged by multiple heavy machine gun rounds. Wounded, Lance tried to manoeuvre away, but the aircraft, now unresponsive, turned on its side and fell out of the sky. As they fell, a tree branch went through the windscreen, killing Lance. Griffith fell through the trees and landed between the Australians and the enemy, wounded in the leg and badly injured from the fall. 2 other crew, co-pilot Greg Forbes and Corporal Peter Vidler, survived. Like Griffith, David Dubber was also thrown out of the chopper as it fell from the sky, but Dubber had fastened his safety belt, and this sealed his fate. As he fell earthwards, Dubber reached the end of his belt, which suddenly jerked him back underneath the helicopter as it crashed through the trees and hit the ground. Pinned underneath and badly injured, Dubber had no chance to get away as the aircraft was immediately engulfed in fire and consumed. His remains were recovered the following day. He was 28 years old. Dubber's remains were returned to Australia and buried at Faulkner Memorial Park near his birthplace of Coburg. He is also commemorated at the Guard of Remembrance in Springvale, Victoria. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my left among the 521 Australians who died while serving in the Vietnam War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal David John Dubber, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening.